Warm greetings to everybody. I would like to thank London Centre for Interdisciplinary Research for giving me this opportunity to present my paper, Beyond Blurred Binaries in Devdutt Pattanaik's The Pregnant King. So as you can see, the cover page of The Pregnant King carrying the two babies, two sons, the one he mothered and the other he fathered. This is what is interrogated in my paper, Beyond Blurred Binaries. Now let us talk about the aims and objectives of the paper. Well, to foreground gender fluidity is a concern of this paper. Apart from that, to analyze depiction of gender roles and to investigate the paradigm shift of queerness from socially constructed gender binaries. So these three are the objectives of the concerned paper, and within this frame we are going to analyze or make an analysis of the paper. Now the hypothesis of beyond blurred binaries of this paper is querying gender is a way of perceiving and deciphering gender from social position and personal condition which are at conflict with each other. So beyond this conflict, how the social positioning is done, keeping aside the personal condition which encompasses human emotions and bondings and the inner struggles. The methodology of this paper lies in the analysis that is modeled into three frames. One which joins the links, that is the interconnectedness. The other is the points of ruptures and fissures, that is disconnectedness. And the third model is the blurred spectrum, that is titled as INBETWEENNESS. So within these three frames, the paper is studied and analyzed. So let us move on to certain relevant terms associated. They are gender, sexuality, queer, and gender fluidity. As perceived, gender is a social implication that is assigned at birth. Sexuality is based on sexual choices and preferences of a partner. Queer is something which is not considered as normal, most common. Critics generally prefer to use queer as an umbrella term for the LGBTQ plus community. And gender fluidity is the slippery position that holds no fixed nor absolute status between the gender binaries, such as masculine and feminine. So these are the relevant terms we must be acquainted with to study the paper. Now, what constitutes the pregnant king? In a nutshell, there is a widowed queen Shilavati, who is barred to rule due to her gender. Her son Yuvanashva or Yuva will be the king only if he can conceive heir to the throne. 13 years pass and he marries 3 wives, but he couldn't produce any son. Then a holy yagna is conducted, holy fire worship is conducted, and a magic potion is prepared. But accidentally, the king drinks the magical potion, and later, within few weeks, he becomes pregnant. So these are the certain changes that turning points that takes place in the story. Then Shilavati, his mother, orders the unborn child, who is named as Mandhata, to be killed. But Simantini, the first wife of Yuvanashva, she stops this crime and adopts later the child. So this way, the first child who is mothered by Yuvanashva is taken away from the father who actually mothered. So second point is, Yuva fathers another son, Jayanta, with second wife Pulomi, and later on in the end part of the novel, Yuva renounces the world and his kingdom after Mandhata refuses him to call mother and acknowledge the truth of his origin. Now the interconnectedness in the novel is Sumedha and Somvat, two village brahmanas, their sexuality, and then Shikhandi's sexuality, and Mandhata's birth, Prince Mandhata's, Yuva's son, his birth of origin, and Amba's birth of origin. Amba is the daughter of Shikhandi, who was born as a woman, raised as a man, and later sexually transformed into a man. So that is Shikhandi's daughter, Shikhandi, about Shikhandi, and Amba is the daughter of Shikhandi. Similarly, Mandhata had a father who mothered him. His father actually gave birth to him. So that was the interconnectedness. Now in the disconnectedness, Bhangashvana's story is not clearly told who leads life both as a man and a woman. So the author fails to justify the nexus. Similarly, there is a sex and gender dichotomy which is very problematizing. For example, Sumedha's relationship with Somvat depicts a blurred sexuality. Yuva's role as Mandhata's mother. So these are blurred sexuality which is not clear and left in between, and therefore they are disconnected. Then Yuva's asceticism to Nilakantha Bhairavi makes him feel both like man and woman within him, that is Shiva and Shakti, which is the Hindu symbol of binaries. So this condition depicts a blurred disconnectedness. Now coming to in-betweenness, pregnancy and hormonal changes in King Yuva, then mothering Mandhata and fathering Jayanta. Jayanta is the son, the second son of Yuva, and also then inner conflicts between duties as a king. Yuva was a king also because he could produce two sons, and that as a mother, he mothered Mandhata. Another thing is Ila's story. Another point or another allegory is Ila's stories as a man and as a woman. So these are certain situations in the novel that portrays in-betweenness. After in-betweenness, we come to queering gender. These are the characters who are related to queering gender because the character is constructed such that their gender is interrogated, like Somvat transforming to Somvati, Shikhandi as a woman and Shikhandi as a man, Krishna, a character from Mahabharata, the Hindu epic, classical Hindu epic, as Iravan's wife. Iravan is again and the son of Arjuna and Ulupi, princess, and the Naga princess Ulupi. Then Arjuna living a life as a eunuch in the name of Brihanalla. So they portray queering gender. But in this portrayal, there is a connecting link, that is the queer other, Yaksha. Yaksha is a creature which is, you can see in the picture, which is taken from the net, and this picture resembles the one which you will be able to see in Madhya Pradesh in India, North India. There is a place called Madhya Pradesh. There in the southern gate of Madhya Pradesh, you will see this picture. This resembles the way how the author depicted Yaksha. Yaksha's role is depicted as a sexual organ lender. First, he lends his organ to Shikhandi and then to Somvat. So this is how he lends And they are the examples, Shikhandi and Somgat are the examples of transsexuality. So he works as a sexual organ lender. That is the importance of this character. Then let us move on to the findings of the research. Like the coordination of mind, body, and soul in this novel, they are fractured. Then gender fluidity takes its form as per human emotion and conditions. Queerness is unconsidered by societal norms which exercise power structures that nullifies even privileged determinants like the king. And Foucault also getting to history of sexuality, we can find that example from Foucault's postulates as well. Then gender fluidity is represented mythically but is left unanswered. And at the last, unsettled and unstable sexuality are some of the elements, turning points in the novel. So these are the findings, and the limitations of the paper is as follows. Like concrete background evidence, this paper lacks to provide a concrete background evidence of historical myths that justify the allegories used to shape the story of the pregnant king. It lacks research in the role of women characters like Shilavati and the three wives of Yuvanashva. This paper does not give emphasis on Shilavati's brother Nabhaka and her husband Prasenjit, that is King Yuva's father. So these are certain limitations of this paper. And moving on from limitations, we have come to the end of the research paper, end of this presentation. Here are some readings, some of the readings that helped me to shape this paper, and that talked about the sexual politics, that talks about the politics of transsexuality. And I have also mentioned the history of sexuality is very much required in order to know, understand the exercise of power in terms of gender fluidity. So this is the way how gender is beyond the gender. We can think beyond the gender, delineating on the blurred segments, on the blurred underlying facts. So I would like to end my presentation with this quotation from Devdutt Pattanaik's The Pregnant King at the end part of the novel. I quote, "We are all trapped in the world of changes, where we feel trapped by destiny and propelled by desire. The point of life is to find that which does not change, the freedom from it all. Moksha." I unquote. So this is what King Yuvanashva later realizes after he renounces the world and becomes a rishi, Rishi Bhairavi, that is Nilkantha Bhairavi, where he realizes that he is much more than what he thinks, like as a mother, as a father. So he is much more to that. His existence is beyond that. That was all. Thank you so much. Here ends my paper. I sign off with this. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.